The man was preparing to rent a house. Suddenly an odd rental ad flew down from the sky. At first, the man didn't pay much attention to it, but to his surprise, the ad seemed almost enchanted, repeatedly appearing in front of him, even sticking directly to his face. Annoyed, he took it down and looked at it, only to discover that the address on the ad was for the building right behind him. At that moment, he was struggling to find the right place to rent, so out of curiosity, he decided to check it out. Little did he know, this seemingly insignificant ad would completely change the course of his life. The moment he stepped into the house, he was immediately captivated by the objects inside, especially the large soft red sofa. Without hesitation, he decided to rent the house. However, on his first day in the new home, he noticed something strange about the place. It felt as though a pair of eyes were constantly watching him from the corner. Sure enough, when he took a can of beer from the fridge, a strange woman suddenly appeared out of nowhere.
There's nothing worth stealing here.
What?
Before he could say anything, the woman asked how he had ended up in her home. David quickly explained that this was the house he had just rented today. If the woman also lived there, it must have been a mistake made by the real estate agent, renting the house to both of them. But the woman insisted that she had lived there for 5 years. All the furniture in the house was hers.
That's my couch, that's my coffee table. Is that a ring? Have you ever heard of a coaster? Or a trash can for that matter? I don't care who you are, you're gonna mop that up. I'm getting the bucket.
David wanted to follow her and ask more questions, but the woman walked away in anger so quickly that he couldn't keep up. As he walked into the kitchen, explaining, he was shocked to see the woman suddenly disappear, as if everything that had just happened was just a drunken hallucination.
Hello?
To prevent any more strangers from entering, he immediately installed a new lock on the door. But just after taking a shower, the woman appeared in the mirror, muttering angrily. In the blink of an eye, she disappeared again. At that moment, David was certain that the woman was not just a hallucination caused by his drunkenness. David immediately told his friend everything that had happened, but his friend was doubtful. His wife had passed away 2 years ago, and his friend believed David was simply grieving too much and imagining these things. Since his wife passed away, David had been consumed by sorrow, and even when his friend arranged blind dates for him, he would always escape at the last minute. 2 years had passed, and his friend urged him not to live in the past.
Look around you, okay? See this? This is the world. Join it. Stop swimming around in your own mind. That is a dangerous neighborhood that you should not go into alone.
When David returned home, he opened another can of beer, but when he looked around, he saw no sign of the woman. Suddenly, a thought came to his mind, and he wanted to test whether the woman would appear again. Sure enough, after taking a shower and wiping the mirror like before, everything seemed to confirm his friend's theory. This was just a figment of his imagination. Exhausted, he crawled into bed, closed his eyes, and prepared to sleep. But the familiar voice returned. The woman still believed the house was hers. When she saw that David had not left and was comfortably lying on her bed, she tried to prove this was her house in various ways. She pointed out the red wine stains on the pillow, and that the bedsheets David was sleeping on were hers. She even found shopping receipts in the drawer. But when she looked confidently at the nightstand, she was shocked to find her photo was missing. She was convinced that David had thrown away her photo to claim the house for himself. Determined not to give in, she grabbed the phone and prepared to call the police. But the next moment, her hand passed straight through the phone.
What'd you do to my phone? Why can't I? You stay right there. I'm gonna use the one in the kitchen.
This sight left David completely stunned. He began to wonder if he was still dreaming, but everything around him felt so real. The next morning, David immediately contacted the real estate agent to ask about the previous tenant of the house. The agent refused to disclose any information, only mentioning that the previous tenant was a girl. The vague answer confirmed everything that had happened the night before. To figure out the supernatural events he was experiencing, David went to a bookstore that specialized in paranormal books. He picked up a book about ghosts, and the bookstore owner approached him.
Can I help you with anything?
No. I mean, do you believe in this stuff?
Well, you don't. Until you do. That's a little dated. I recommend the Rosemary Preston. It's totally seminal.
That night, David sat down at the table, fully focused, and tried to summon the woman's spirit, following the instructions from the book. But no matter what gestures he made, there was still no response. Suddenly, David remembered that the woman had always been very attached to her table, so he grabbed a cup and placed it on the table. The next moment,
Don't you dare!
We need to talk.
About what?
he wanted to ask the woman about her past, but the woman seemed to have lost her memory. She had forgotten recent events, but casually mentioned her name. David wanted to remind Lisa that she didn't belong to this world, but Lisa didn't believe such a lie. However, in the heat of their argument, she unknowingly stepped into the middle of the table. At that moment, Lisa also sensed something was wrong.
happening to me?
You're dead!
Stop saying that!
In a fit of anger, she tried to show David who was in charge, but to her shock, her hand passed through his body. In a burst of anger, she tried to push David away, only to find that she passed right through the window. But the next moment, she reappeared in the room. Although Lisa accepted the fact that she had become a spirit, she wasn't about to give up. Determined to drive David out of her house, Lisa launched an unrelenting mental assault. David even began showering with his pants on. Although David had gotten used to Lisa's presence, he was still startled every time he saw her.
Another one, my.
After days of torment, David could no longer live in peace. Even watching TV was a challenge. David was suffering from Lisa's constant harassment, so he could no longer tolerate it.
You know what? That's it. I've had it with you. I've tried to be nice, but now you're out of here!
If he wanted to rid himself of Lisa for good, he would have to bring in a priest. But this old trick didn't intimidate Lisa at all. Since Western methods didn't work, he turned to Eastern ones. He even called in a scientific team, who used high-tech scanners to trap the spirit in a pyramid-shaped box. Everything seemed to be going smoothly, but nothing worked. Lisa's spirit still followed him everywhere. After several failed attempts, David decided to bring in the bookstore owner. However, the moment he arrived, he could already feel Lisa's presence.